Michael, Howard, I can't tell you how glad I am to be having this conversation with you because so much of what you're doing over the past couple of years, um, I think is really needed. And I wanted to, just for my own selfish purposes, to get a better sense of how this whole thing started and get a sense of where it is now. So maybe we can start at the beginning. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit and maybe tell us your origin story?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it and your interest. Glad to be here. So yeah, from Missouri originally. I got a BFA in photography from Missouri State. Moved to Tennessee, Nashville area in 2004. Photographed kind of did some photo assisting here, kind of the music industry, photography world for a little bit, and then kind of went on my own for a while. Did everything from weddings to editorial work to personal work to some fashion stuff to just some commercial stuff. Um, and then, 2014, I got more into, trying to start, like, a software company, for photographers kind of in a different realm,
Hmm.
that just, failed miserably. That's the whole other thing. Um
Well, they say that the first one has to fail.
Yeah, well, this one definitely did. Um, but it wasn't it was good. So, like, you start down a path, you start on a journey, and it ended up starting up, printing for photographers out of my house. Initially, that was gonna plan to plug into the software we were building at the time, and so that was in, like, 2014, and then that, had just kinda took off to where that just kind of became all-consuming for me, and then, which I'm actually still running that company today still, so it's been over, it's like on 11 years now. Um, but while working on the print lab side of things, I always kind of felt the that I don't know, just had this kind of weird feeling with Instagram and really felt that they didn't have like a deep respect for like photography in any sort of way. And just so a lot of the decisions they kept making, it was more of they were using it, but it wasn't like they really respected it as a company.
Well, say something more
Um,
about that before you move on, because I actually wanted
yeah.
to ask you about that. What
Okay.
what about and I assume you have a very structured reason for why you think that Instagram, a social media that was founded upon visual images, actually does not do a lot of justice to photographs. Can you share a little bit about that? What do you think that is the case with Instagram?
Yeah, for me, when you build like a social network or really just any business in general, like it all kind of comes down to the incentive structures of what are you incentivizing, how are things designed, where does the money flow to,
Mhm.
what clients are they really serving, like who's the product for, that kind of stuff, and y- very early on, once they started putting ads on there, their clientele, who they're serving is the advertisers. Um, that's who they care about. They really don't care about everything else is just to sell ads. And so, um, there just wasn't a lot of the features that I feel like I wanted wasn't of how images can be used online and shared. They just never have built them.
Mhm.
Um, and so to me, that was just that they didn't really care about the images or understand photography images in any way. They were just trying to, um, garner your attention as much as possible. It
Yeah.
started with photos, because that's just where we were at that time and technology and with the internet. But, they introducing the algorithm and just how they program that and the things that they choose to push up, all of that just incentivizes kind of the lowest common denominator for
Yeah.
human behavior,
Yeah.
things that
So
will generate emotion to
the photos become
scrolling or anything.
the photos then become a currency rather than the main point.
Right, yeah, it's just a means to an end to just to sell ads essentially. Um, and so they don't really necessarily care about the user's experience as long as you keep scrolling. That's really what
Yeah.
and it's just gotten worse, and but that's as long as they have to serve their advertisers, that's the incentive structure to build that system, and that's what they will continue to build.
So 2014, you're headed down that path. You're developing this business that's still up and running, and I also wanna ask you about prints. I'm gonna come back to that in a second.
Yep.
Um, the years go by, you're seeing that social media is not doing what it's supposed to do for photographers. What happens next?
Yeah, so 2018 is kinda when I was, like started kicking around just mentally the idea of, like, somebody should make something or I wish somebody would make something.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's been many attempts kind of come and go.
Yeah,
None of
Flickr
them
comes to mind, right? Flickr felt like
Yeah.
the last time that social media was really photographer friendly, and that is like
Right.
100,000 years ago.
Right, yeah, and there's been stuff in between, I mean, even things like Hipstamatic and,
Mm.
um, some other smaller things like that, most recently, like Vero or whatever, but, like, Elo was popped around for, like, 30 days there for a while, I don't know if you remember that one,
No,
but
I don't. What? How could
Oh,
I have missed
Elo?
it?
Oh,
Gosh.
that was crazy for about a month, and it
Okay.
like, like, even, like, Google Plus and things I don't know, there's just been
Google Plus. Oh my
a
god,
lot of attempts.
fetching up things from the
Yes, yeah.
abyss of the
Mhm.
internet. Google
Yeah,
Plus. That was a moment.
yeah, that was a moment, yeah. Um, and so yeah, so anyway, people really liked Instagram in 2018 at the time.
Yeah.
Um, this was a little before TikTok really came on the scene. It was kinda, like, very early TikTok, but, wasn't, like, obviously the global phenomenon it is now. And then, I can't remember what it was, like, either 2020 I think it was 2020 that summer, I think it was, like, COVID year, that's when Adam, uh, the guy that runs Instagram, basically just came out publicly and was like, we're no longer a photo sharing platform." He kinda said the quiet part out loud that I, like,
Mm.
I felt, but they, like, publicly was like, "We're not really made for that." So, that it was, like, essentially, like, yeah, like, if they obviously, they're just saying it out loud, they don't really care at all about photography, and so there needs to be a new place for that. Um, and then a year later, he doubled down again the next summer and said it again, and I was like, "Okay, like, they're, like, serious,
Call
obviously,
to
so
arms.
yeah. So, I was like, "Well, I don't really see any, people making anything that what I'm envisioning," so I was like, "I might as well, I guess I'll start to getting something designed." Um, and it was one of those things that I had been, at this point, that's like 5 years after, it's like 2022 or something at this point, so 4 or 5 years, and I felt like if I didn't pursue it, that I would regret it later.
Mm.
It's kind of one of those gut things. Yeah, I started on that path, and then, we've been kinda just chipping away at it ever since.
And that became Photo.
Yep.
So I want to ask you something about the way, you've talked about the main difference between Photo as you envisioned it at the time and what you saw around you on social media, which was you wanted to create a space that will be focused on the photographic image, like a social media where the photographs are the focal point rather than the currency that is used to traffic our attention and our wallets effectively.
Mm.
Can you talk a little bit about the other things that distinguish Photo from the traditional model of a social media network when it comes to, the goals and even your funding and how you're thinking about the structure that you're putting in place?
Yeah, we're kinda doing everything on hard mode, essentially right now, so everything's, like, as hard as possible, but, for us, we're trying to build it for the long term and not the short term, which, again, is almost like a cardinal sin, I feel like, in this, like, startup world, like, everything's, like, move as literally as fast as you possibly can, and we'll figure everything out later.
Yeah.
but, um, I've been studying something I really love is studying business and startups and technology, and so there have been companies that have done both, but there's been a lot of bad situations that have going too fast
Mhm.
and having a lot of money from certain investors and things that can lead to compromise later down the road. It's great for a year or two, but then it just becomes something that's like not great, and then we start the cycle over again. So in a way, we're like trying to break the cycle and do it the really hard way. Um, so we are trying to not we're basically not doing advertising on Photo, so it's an ad-free experience, but it's also free, so people are, like, confused by that typically. So our structure is to try to do pro features, so certain features that, we are gonna be building in the future, we have one now, but we're gonna make more. Those are gonna be what people pay for to, like, unlock, essentially.
Like a
But
subscription model.
yeah, subscription model, but it's basically for, like, the heavy users, the power users, the ones that are more professional, that really wanna, like, use the network and, like, build a business or something on top of it versus just a casual user. So we're trying to do both where it's free, so just anybody can get on, but we wanna build these tools that have a lot of value associated with the network that people are willing to pay for. And these are features that people are already paying for from other companies. It's just none of it's in one cohesive thing.
Mm,
So they're paying for all these like third party apps that plug into certain things. And so they're already doing it. We're just trying to build it all on like this one platform essentially.
mhm.
So it's just more seamless, it's integrated, it's easier to use. So we don't feel like that's too big of a leap since historically people have been paying for these services already, it's just not integrated. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how we're trying to fund it, at least long term. Short term, we are just 100% community funded from our supporters. So we haven't taken any investment money from anybody. It's just been people on the internet that have supported us from the beginning, which has been pretty amazing, honestly, for,
Mhm.
just people from around the world. And so they've helped us kinda get to where we are today,
It also says
and
something about people recognizing the need, like, they want to participate, they want to take part in this. They wanna help build, to get it on the ground level and help build this
Mhm.
for the future.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's been really encouraging. So we're, just trying to really and that's the incentive structure is if we can build something that people love and are happy with in terms of the product, then we feel that they will pay for it.
Mhm.
Um, some people will see the vision and understand it and wanna jump on now, and then other people will wanna wait until it's a little more mature, and then they'll come on later.
Yeah.
But but as long as we build something of value for them, we feel like they will end up paying for it
Mhm.
because it'll be useful for them. It'll be a tool or a utility. Um, and so that's where our incentive is just to build for the community and the people that use the platform. And if they're happy, then we'll end up being happy, and then everything's great. What we don't want to do is compromise with advertisers because as soon as you do that, you get into the attention economy stuff, and then
Yeah.
you kind of spiral down into some bad structures.
And I have noticed when you're scrolling around the app, um, on your phone, how prominent the photographs are. What are you using an algorithmic model at all? Or how does you don't have to give away anything that you don't
Yeah.
want to share, but how does the feed function on Photo?
Right now, it's purely chronological, so there's 0 algorithm at all. It's just, your home feed is literally whoever you follow, that's who is in there. There's nothing else in there, and it's all in chronological order. There are kinda some pros and cons to chronological order, so it's not like there's not some negatives to it. There's always a trade-off with
Mhm.
different types of feeds, um, but I think there's some things long term that we can do to help kinda mitigate some of those maybe negative kind of trade-offs with the chronological feed. But we at least want to default to that or give users the ability to set the feed to what they want it to, honestly. So
Yeah.
I feel like one of the things that annoy me about social media, and I see a lot of people complaining about, is just there's a lack of control. So you don't have a way to fine tune your feed. You don't have a way to set your main feed to a default of how you want to engage with it and
Yeah.
experience it. You're kind of you're dictated by the company on what it is. And so long term, we want to give users controls of things. How do they set it? How they want it to, ideally to where they can maybe create their own custom algorithms at some point.
Mm,
Um, versus us like being the top down. It should be more of like a bottom up
yeah.
type experience. So, but yeah, the discovery page is very simple right now. It's also chronological. So literally every photo that gets uploaded or every post, every portfolio that gets uploaded to a photo is just displayed in chronological order. Um, we have to add more discovery features, more search features, things like that
Yeah.
to help kind of create some more evergreen, so the posts and portfolios and the work is discoverable. It has more a life for the long term, and it's not just something that's short term. That's only like 48 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've also noticed that the way you're using Substack um, to engage the community around this has been really interesting to see how you're sharing features with the community and asking for their feedback in a very straightforward way. And people share, people
Mhm.
respond to you.
Yeah.
You know, they have a stake in the game. Like they want to make sure that this network functions in a way that serves them. What how does that play out for you?
Yeah, that's been great. And it's I don't know. I guess that's part of our marketing strategy slash product development.
Mhm.
Is we want to iterate quickly with our users, and we want to listen to their feedback and build something that makes them happy. There is a balance there of, listening to feedback, but not we can't do everything that everybody wants, so we can't
Of
make
course.
everybody happy, and sometimes we have to say no to things or not yet or, um, you know, dig deeper into maybe understanding the pain point they're feeling. A lot of times users will communicate a solution that they want before they kinda communicate, like, the pain point or friction that they're feeling underneath,
Mhm.
and for us, it's kind of trying to dig into where's the frustration, friction, pain that they're feeling, and then maybe figure out maybe what's the best solution. A lot of time photographers usually will pull from an experience they've seen in another company or something, but which may be a good idea, but it may not, so we wanna not just assume something and try to be innovative and forward thinking.
Yeah.
Um, but it's been great 'cause it's created a really sense of community and engagement, and it creates something I think that's kind of rare 'cause I feel like people don't get to converse back and forth with the owners of the software that they're
That's
using and
very rare.
actually
I don't
and
remember
provide real
people
feedback.
asking for our opinion when they start.
Yeah, right. And actually implement something you might
Yeah,
suggest.
absolutely.
So, not just, yeah, ignore you entirely, so, yeah.
Um, you know, I think it also says something about photography a little bit more broadly that I was hoping to get your take on, which is
Mm,
community.
mhm,
There's sometimes this conception of photography as something that feels very isolating or something that happens by the act of one person. And I actually think that photography is always a conversation. Like I'm always interested in photography as means of communication. And I'm always seeing how photography in fact functions like a community. So I'm wondering, what are your thoughts about this? How important is community for photographers? And if anything changed in the 21st century in that regard? Now that we're a quarter in, can you believe it?
yeah,
Quarter into
I
the
know,
21st century?
I know, it's
So
wild.
what had changed?
Yeah, I think I think it's evolving every few months almost at this point with how fast technology is advancing in certain areas. I think community is really the heartbeat of photography. in a way. I think a lot of art is it can be created in isolation and honestly a lot of times, but a lot of times the point of it is to share it with somebody, you
Mhm.
know. If you do it purely for yourself and never show anybody, that there's some artists that have done that. Um, but the conversation, the richness comes from humans socializing with one another, discussing it, having dialogue, disagreements, whatever. But then also just collecting around a shared interest or a shared topic. Um, People do this all the time around other interests, shared interests, whether it's car enthusiasts or sports enthusiasts or art or music or whatever. We all have things that we're interested in, and meeting with those people to where it is a community. It's not about the competition or
Mhm.
not the necessarily the business. It's just trying to understand our human existence, kind of one to another. Um, I think photography in a lot of ways is tapping into kind of the human existence, kind of a recording of what we're experiencing,
Yeah.
but also sharing that experience with another human. Um, something that's been that we want to hopefully emphasize over time is something when I'm scrolling through photo, whether it's the discovery feed or whatever, um, is that even how small we are now, it still feels like there's this kind of weird global photo book feeling or
Mm.
something.
Mhm.
You kind of get these windows into other parts of the world pretty easily. Um, and so I always try to find myself kind of asking questions. Just the lack of video, the lack of sound, the lack of things like that that are on photo, like it's all that's not there. And so if you really reflect, it gives you some time to slow down and get in more of like a contemplative state or meditative state, really, which is what images and photos are really meant to be, is to slow down, kind of the really long form
Yeah.
writing is in a way. And I think as a human species, we need to tap into that more because we're moving too fast and the attention is we're going too scattered. But it's important. I mean, we did a global photo walk at the end of September, our first one we wanted to try. And, we had, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 people from around the world show up in like 50 cities and just
That's
to walk
amazing.
and take pictures and to make new friends. And, um, it was very encouraging. The people are just craving, um, in-person human connection right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that's another byproduct of the algorithmic era that we're in. It does feel like photo is a part of something bigger that I see happening in a variety of ways, and I love what you're saying about the global photo walk. I think that's another expression of that, which is a need to recenter our social networks the way they unfold and happen online, to recenter them on humans rather than advertisements and algorithms and the need of the corporation to keep the shareholders happy. Uh, there's this move toward what feels like a more authentic connection and an attempt to create human interaction, um, in ways that I don't think that we've seen happen yet. What are your thoughts about that?
yeah, I mean, and I think some of that is, with AI technology and stuff coming up in content, people, um, it's something I think that's true that will never go away. It's just people are going to want to connect with other humans in a meaningful way, in person. I just don't think that desire is ever truly going to go away.
Mm,
Um, and so while we are creating an online space, I think for us as a company, it's important that as we grow, we invest in offline experiences, whether it's photo exhibitions or um, different, like just clubs that are around in different cities where they meet on a somewhat regular basis or, whatever. We just need to get people off their phones and off their computers to a degree. And photography is like when you're offline, that's where like the work happens. And there should always be an element of coming together um, to talk with other people to
You might
support.
be the first app, the person that says, "I want people to spend time offline." Like, you might be the first. I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah.
Like, my
Yeah.
goal in life as a person who's building an app, founding and developing it, is to make sure that people will stop using apps and spend more time together in person.
Yeah, like, if somebody's using our app, like, 8 hours a day, like, that's not good. Like, we don't want like, Instagram wants that, but, like, we don't want that, like, because they sell more ads. We want it to be a place where it's, like, inspiring or inspirational or a resource. You can search for it or do different things, but you ultimately, you need to go make the work or connect with something meaningful out there, so, um you shouldn't be on it, like, all the time. That's not healthy. I think some of it's just for, we all see where the world is and the divisiveness that's happening and some of the mental health issues, even among young people. I mean, I have kids, they just or started college, and we tried to keep them off phones for a long time as parents,
Absolutely.
um, because of the negative effects of it, and so it just creates a lot of anxiety. So I don't know. There's just I think if we're gonna build a healthier world, like we need to have companies that have healthier um, goals and plans, and there needs to be some humane technology and supporting companies like that, and it doesn't need just to be all just greed and billionaires.
My fingers are definitely crossed for that. My kids are still luckily too young to be active users on social media. They're 10 and 7. And we're already having conversations
Yeah.
about how damaging that could be. Like, my oldest is already exposed to that, and he already knows that he does not want to have anything to do with it because it feels so damaging. The perception that these kids already have on social media is that it is damaging and it does not have their best interest in mind.
Yeah, yeah, which it doesn't, honestly. So
100%.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's a hard thing. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful things about being online and there's a lot of connections and people that I've met that, I would not have made if I wasn't on his online platforms.
Yeah.
Um, but like everything in life, it's about balance, like too much of any one thing is really bad. Um, and so we just need to find a healthier balance of how to do it online, do it in a healthy way, but also have an offline world and
Yeah.
space.
So let's talk about offline and photography. I'm
Mm.
thinking back about where we started and your work with high quality prints. Um, I've been having a lot of conversations with various people who work in different facets of the printing world. Um, and there's a lot of concerns, of course, about the fact that people print less. That's one side of it. But with photography, we always also have a concern about the material presence of photography, corrosion, degradation, discoloration, all of those things. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this between the physical material presence of the photographic print and the way people use prints today. Where do you think we're headed next? What are some of the things that you've been noticing, within your practice?
Gosh, I mean, I feel like we're just splintering. I feel like everything's expanding and it's just gonna become more chaotic. I don't know if we're headed down necessarily one specific path. Um, I think that people are gonna choose different experiences and different things for themselves. I mean, yeah, definitely printing is physical objects are never gonna be as popular um, as stuff that's online, that's more affordable, that's more accessible. It's like a more of like a democratic, thing. Um, and there are, printing and doing it well is often is a luxury. It's not a cheap process and the materials cost a lot and there's still a lot of skilled labor involved. So not everybody can afford it. But in terms of at least owning those things, but I think exhibitions and I think those things need to be more accessible. And it's important. I think viewing photos in print it's just a different thing than viewing them online. I think it's the only place that the artist gets 100% of control of how a viewer experiences their work. Um, you can put something online and you have no idea what type of screen, how bright that screen is, how if it's calibrated or not, how big the screen is, how small the screen is. When people will see your work, like all that influences, you know. Where a physical print, it's on a wall, if it's in an exhibition or in gallery, like you can control the room, you can control the size of the print, make sure the color is exactly how you want, is lit how you want
Mhm.
it. So it's like it's the full expression of the artist, I feel like, is a print. And that's like the pinnacle of a photograph is a printed something that's done well. But those are should only be those are your usually for the best of the best and some of the more rare pieces, you don't wanna print, like, 10,000 pictures. I used to
Sure,
live
can you imagine?
def
Can you
yeah.
imagine if we would print all the images that are produced across the world? Do you know that every minute now,
It's like a billion.
almost 4,000,000 images
Yeah,
per minute.
yeah.
Can you imagine printing all that? I mean, there would be no more trees or bamboo left in
Right.
the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. So, um, but I do think it's, like anything, I think the physical, there are gonna be certain physical trades that will be able to last,
Mhm.
for a long time because it does require a human to do it and a certain level of skill. I don't think robots could do, like, just picture framing
Mm.
to a high
Maybe
degree.
that's your next,
So,
venture, the robot that can print. Maybe that'll be the next thing
yeah.
that you'll create.
Yeah, at least for if you want something high quality, there's just too many things that go sideways with printing that,
Sure.
you need a human to, like, "Oh, there's a scratch there. It's small, but, like, we need to redo that," or whatever. Um,
Is.
yeah, so I don't know. I think we're far away from stuff like that. There's gonna be some physical things,
Mm.
skilled labor that is still has a lot of value.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I hope people will desire those more because the digital the digital experience sometimes can be too much, and so I think there's a reaction to where maybe we crave the physical stuff. And I think it's interesting with a lot of younger people now, you see them drawn to analog processes with photography or other things. Um, so even in a younger generation, I feel like they're kind of rejecting some of the digital ma products that have been sold to them as like, it's not worth it."
Yeah, 100%. Well, since we've mentioned the younger generation and life online, I think we also need to say something about AI. What do you think about how photographers respond to this moment and specifically to the rise of AI? Like, what's your take on the relationship that we've been having with generative AI in the photo world?
For me, it's frustrating. Like, I mean, I'm sure the way that a lot of photographers are, in a large degree, I think it's a technology that we don't necessarily, like, need or we didn't really ask for.
Mm.
Um, but it is here, so I tend to try to focus on what it is, like, what understanding what it is, maybe where it's headed. These are things that are out of my control, and so me, um, complaining or whining about it doesn't do anything, and so
But you can if you want to, like, we could whine about it.
yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Sure, yeah, we can. Um, I tend to be a more practical type person. Like, what can we actually do to affect change, meaningfully besides make a lot of noise?
Mm.
Uh, and yeah, right now we're essentially watching it and seeing if it's, where it heads. It there's a million possibilities with it still over the next few years in terms of at least the generative AI side. I mean, I think, like, AI is definitely gonna be a thing, and it will be a thing, but in terms of more the generative video or generative, images, do humans want that? Are they actually gonna engage with that type of content on a regular basis to where they would actually sit and watch it and then ads can be around it to monetize it?
Mhm.
So I don't know how these tech companies are gonna monetize this necessarily long term. They're kind of burning cash right now. So, and
And
there's not a
also
lot of
offering you, like, no matter which website you open, suddenly there's, like, an AI service there that you didn't ask for.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they're
yeah,
proud of it. They're like, "We've given you AI." And you're like, I didn't ask you
right,
to give me AI. That was
yeah,
fine."
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's some stuff that I think that we would like to integrate with it, in a useful way, um, but not in the way that, in terms of the AI generative stuff that we're excited about. I really wish there was more legislation, and involvement from just governments across the world in terms of, A, kind of slowing down development to make sure just AI is safe in general,
Mhm,
but B, um, helping protect the copyright owners of the work it's being trained on, or making sure that they're compensated for being involved in the training data, but also just things that would allow us to, flag AI images or AI content, so that people can choose if they wanna see it or not. Just would be great, but there's just the wild, wild west. There's companies don't have to put stuff in their metadata with the images that are generated and all this other stuff, and so being like, technically, like, being able to block it and block it well and clearly is, um, extremely hard, and there are some services, but they're not 100% accurate.
yeah.
And then places like Adobe and Google and Apple, they're just kind of weaving AI stuff into photo editing programs all of a sudden, um, which I get some of the use cases for, but, you're getting these hybrid images. It's like part synthetic, part not synthetic. How do you filter those in or out? Um, so it's just becoming a really muddy mess. We're
Absolutely.
just too small of a team to deal with it in a huge, like, meaningful way at this time. Hopefully, in the future, we'll be larger and we can create our own impact, um,
Mm,
for the positive. But right now, we're kind of watching, A, seeing if it's gonna there be a market for that stuff. B, if there's any legislation that comes up over the
yeah,
next 1 or 2 years where maybe some rules will actually be formed around it, which would be helpful for us.
yeah,
Um, We don't know if it's a bubble, like, a lot of people are like, "Hey, it's a dot-com bubble, it might fall apart in a year or 2," or, like, it's like the NFT thing, it might fall apart in a year or 2, like,
yeah,
it's there's a lot of hype, but we don't know if it'll stay. So we're just kind of watching and waiting while we build a lot of the other features that we need. Um, but I get it, I mean, it's for photographers trying to make a career out of it, I mean, it's tough, it's definitely a big threat in a lot of ways, especially for corporations that wanna cut costs as much as possible. So, product photographers and certain advertising jobs, for photography, I think some of them are already gone. And I think it's going to be increasingly hard
yeah.
to save those.
Yeah, which is, that's part of the transformation that the business world undergoes every time that there's, like, a big seismic shift like this. The last time that this had happened on such a magnitude with the introduction of digital photography, and, Photoshop in the 1990s, the conversations were very, very similar. I
Mm,
was in journalism in the early millennium, and the field had changed every day. I felt like I was the last person standing almost in every newspaper or website that I
Yeah.
was looking for, because things were changing so quickly, and the profession itself changed in, like, an unprecedented way. So I think that those of us who already have the scars from the first time that it happened, we're like, "Yeah, that's
Yeah.
part of the cycle."
Yeah, yeah. So I would love to go back when I have some free time and look at old newspaper like headlines of like when around the air time when new technology was being invented. Things like electricity and things I've heard are have some pretty a lot of negative reviews and people were afraid of it. Just cars, like the printing press, like a lot of these big, the internet, these big revolutionary technologies. I think
Excuse
AI.
me, the miniature painters
Yeah.
are still upset at the photographers
Right.
taking their
Yes.
jobs.
Right. Yes. So there's just I don't know, there's a repeating pattern of, like, human reactions to, like, these disruptive technologies, which I totally get. Um, and so hopefully as we'll figure out a way to navigate AI and that it will be useful and aligned with human incentives and not kill us all.
Oh, no, I
But, you know, so, but yeah, we're just waiting to see thing right now is where we're at, so.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. And, I think that that is part of, I mean, what we're experiencing with AI, and the lack of guardrails, and how technology moves faster than legislation, and, that happens
Mm,
across the world in the way that AI is being almost thrusted upon us, even though we have not asked for it. I think that might be also, an accelerating factor for people seeking more human interaction on social media, to feel like you're
yeah,
engaging with other people and not just bots on a troll farm, or, AI that will just tell you whatever it is that you wanna hear. I mean,
yeah.
doesn't matter what you tell ChatGPT, I don't know why I said he. It thinks that it's a great idea. Like, no matter what you tell ChatGPT, the first thing you're gonna hear is, "You are so awesome, and that was
Great
the
idea.
best idea, series of ideas.
Yeah,
Let's break that down."
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Hear
so
your full
maybe
stuff.
that's why, like, we need the tension with
Mm,
other human people in order to feel like
yeah,
we exist in the world.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes, yeah, and I don't know, like, we're building a social, media platform in a way. Hopefully it's, like, more than that long term, but even social media right now is, like, people are like, "Is it dead? Is it dying? Like, what is it? Where's it headed?" It's like, I don't all I know is humans are really bad about predicting the future. Like, they're
Mm,
really bad. We all like to kind of guess, but, like, nobody has any, good clue what's it's just, we have to kinda deal with it as it comes. Um, Sometimes I do wonder if there would be room for a social network where it is, like, ti tighter to get into, or there's more friction in terms of you have to be verified that you're a real human being and you're breathing and, like, all of this, to foster a different experience, as
would
there
you put
becomes more
something
AI stuff.
would you put something like that around Photo?
I don't know. Like, it just depends. I think it depends on how bad the AI stuff gets. So, I think if our user like, a majority of our user base wants something like that, I wouldn't that would be something I'm open to a lot of things, so, nothing is ever set in stone.
Mhm.
For us, it's all about just building something for each other, building something for humans, and fostering community and connection, and hopefully something that creates more empathy in the world and understanding.
Yeah.
Um, so whatever way we can do that, that works and that allows us to be a sustainable business and to stay alive and be open, is where, kind of where we want to head.
That's awesome. And what's the reach of Photo, um, at this moment in time? Like, how many people engage with you on the platform?
Right now we're closing on like 100,000 accounts created. Like we're not quite there yet, but it's like getting closer. Um, I think monthly active users right now, it's around like 23,000 people. Um, so,
Well,
but,
that's like
you know,
year 1. I mean, you guys started officially, like, launched officially, what, less than a
February.
year ago?
Yeah, end of
Oh.
February.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and we're just a team of 3 people, like, and I'm honestly doing it part-time, and our designer's doing it kinda part-time. We just have 1 developer who's full-time. So, I feel like we've done well for the small team we have and not having investors. Um, we don't have, like, 100 people and, like, $50 million,
Yes.
like, pumping,
Yes.
you know, resources into this thing.
Yeah.
So it's truly a grassroots, like, experience and app and kind of movement right now, which has been, to me, that's way more fun than building something like that than trying to convince like 10 really wealthy people to give us a bunch of money.
Uh,
So,
so maybe right before just before we close, what is there something that you want people to know about Photo and what you're trying to accomplish? Something that you want to highlight about your work?
uh, I don't know. I mean, there's probably a million things that I could probably say here. I mean, for us, it's like, gosh, I see a lot of people online that are like frustrated with social media and how it currently is. And I feel like they complain a lot, but they also don't want to try out alternatives or even be patient with an alternative until it also has like a billion people on it and they can just switch over essentially. Um, for a true alternative to work, it does need to be something that is more of like a movement or something where there's a lot of like energy and patience behind it. So for us, I would love people to just give us a try for even just like a year or 2. They don't need to use it every day, but just like just keep tabs on it. Like it's free to download. Like check us out. Like when we release a new update, like try the new update because we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up over the next 6 to 12 months that will change the entire experience of how photo operates, and it will make it feel a lot richer and fuller and like a more mature app over the next year. And for me, I would like people to enjoy the ride. I feel like you don't get many opportunities to join something that's like at the beginning and then experience it as it goes up. And to me, that's like fun. And I would just encourage people to join and join the ride as we go and build and just kind of get a front row seat to experience that. Because we're inviting people in. We're trying to be transparent and um, available for people online to ask questions and for us to answer and just engage with people. And so we don't want to be this like faceless, cold, like separate, entity that's way over here that you don't feel like you can talk to. Um, and for me, we just want to see what we can build together. Is ultimately what we want to do.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So wishing you great success, and we'll have you come back to talk about all the great things that have happened in a year. Awesome.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.